Warning, this program is entirely fictional and made by a sole Canadian man. All characters and events in the show, including the host, even those that are based on real people, are entirely fictional. The following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
America, the land of the free, home of the brave, and the stupid, and the criminally insane. The United States has seen its fair share of gangbangers, mobsters, and psychotics who have roamed our beloved streets, causing untold chaos, destruction, and corruption. Tonight, on Grand Theft Auto Biographies. Motorcycles, meth, and Molotovs. Tonight we will take a look at the notorious elderly biker with a knack for cracking skulls and cracking deals.
I can't believe I'm hearing this shit.
We'll follow the tragic life of a rebel who chose to stick it to the man and live by his own rules, and the many battles he would fight in pursuit of living a happy and accomplished life, only for it to be cut short suddenly and violently. Violence was not, however, something foreign to tonight's subject, not by any means. A man who at one point controlled one of the single largest and most powerful motorcycle clubs in the country, a role he most certainly did not earn by being a friendly, happy-go-lucky man. We will witness brothers, betrayal, and tragic love as we dive deeper into the rise and fall of the Lost MC and its last noteworthy leader, Johnny Klebitz. Enjoy this series and just can't wait to see the next episode? Then head on over to patreon.com/Guiness Walker, and for less than $5 American, you can get access to extra content, including early access to episodes, a download catalog of every episode released at the time of your joining, and high-quality WAV files of all the music used throughout the series, with full permission to reuse them for your own videos, as long as they are credited in the description. For an additional $5, you can get all of this plus a credit in all future episodes as a producer. Can't afford to contribute regularly? No problem. Once you sign up as a patron, the entire back catalog opens up to you, allowing you to download the content for yourself and cancel your subscription afterwards. The only downside will be my unrepentant rage and disdain for the rest of your life. So sign up today to support the show, keep the lights on, and earn my eternal gratitude. Thank you. Jonathan Johnny Klebitz was born in Actor Alderney State in 1974 to Jewish parents, where he grew up in the shadow of Liberty City. Not much is known about Klebitz's early life, though it is known that he had at least one brother, Michael Klebitz, who would go on to fight overseas during the Iraq War, and lead a drastically different life to his rebellious and law-skirting sibling, being vocally critical of Johnny's lifestyle throughout his time as a member of the Lost MC. Speaking of the Lost, it is believed that Klebitz's first encounter with motorcycle club culture began with his introduction to future president of the Lost Alderney chapter, Billy Gray, through his brother. Being relatively weak in the classroom, Klebitz would continuously gravitate towards criminality, despite trying his hand at more legitimate work, driving 18-wheelers among other blue-collar jobs. A life of mundane participation as a cog in the machine of society would not be the life Klebitz would aspire to, instead associating with men like Gray from an early age and joining a motorcycle club, The Lost, before his 20th birthday. Sometime in 1991, Johnny's criminal record began to explode when Klebitz would have been between 17 and 20, being arrested for Grand Theft Auto, assault, and finally in 94, manslaughter, which landed Johnny in Alderney State Correctional Facility for 6 years. Upon release, he received a parole violation almost immediately and returned to the criminal life he'd come to know through Gray. While a cause was unable to be identified, it is also speculated that Johnny suffered from weak vision in one eye, perhaps from an industrial accident, or more likely from a violent incident during his many years as a member of the Lost. Whatever the case, the Jewish road warrior never allowed the handicap to prevent him from being an effective killer and member of his brotherhood. Between 2000 and 2008, Johnny would move up the ranks of the Alderney chapter of the Lost alongside Billy Gray, with Gray eventually becoming the president, with Klebitz under him as VP. However, in early 2008, Gray would be caught with heroin and arrested, where he was sentenced to attend rehabilitation and change his ways.
Stay out of trouble. Yes, Daddy.
With Gray inside, Klebitz would temporarily assume the position of president, and during his tenure, establish peace with the Lost's longtime rivals, the Angels of Death, whom they'd been at war with since at least 1982, before Gray's ascension to leader. Being significantly more rational in his approach to managing the organization, Klebitz would oversee a brief period, the good times, wherein both groups cooperated to increase profits in their shared criminal endeavors. These good times wouldn't last long, unfortunately, as only months after Gray's sentence, he would be released from rehab on parole for good behavior, and almost immediately reignited tensions between the two groups.
Whoa! Hold on! No! Wait! Please! No!
Where is my bike?
Having sold Gray's unique motorcycle to the AOD, partially to pay for Billy's legal fees, and partially as a peace offering from Klebitz, the Lost stood poised to return to full-scale war when a furious Billy found out and ordered a raid on the AOD-guarded scrapyard in Northwood to get the bike back. After slaughtering several of their rivals, Billy would retrieve his bike and chastise the frustrated Johnny for prioritizing business and profits over what Gray perceived as
Leader shit! Shit meaning something!
that being pride, dominance, and pure entertainment value.
Yes. Thank you!
The two men, who had frequently clashed throughout their time as brothers in the Lost, would begin fighting constantly after Billy's release, fundamentally viewing the route forward for their organization differently, with Klebitz wanting peace and high profit, and Gray wanting chaos and subservience.
Like I told you when you were in there, or were you so busy playing holier than thou, you started believing your own bullshit?
Forgive me. You know, I've had a complicated few weeks. Oh, yeah, Matthew, shut up. You know, coming off heroin's kind of hard. I think I acquired this touch of amnesia. What business is more important, Mr. 1980s yuppie big shot, than your best friend's bike when he's close to getting a 15-year stretch?
The business that pays his lawyer's fees. The business that puts food on all of our tables. The business that we are all in while you're out pretending to be saved.
Get my bike!
What am I, your fucking dog?
I told you she got the bike.
You told me. You don't tell me shit, you little fuck. Listen, Billy. They were pissed and they had a reason. Your bike chopped that girl's leg off. You put Joe John's nephew in a coma. The deadbeats kept the bike. And we needed the money.
You needed some balls. Some fucking heart. Something.
Neither man would be alone in their sentiments either, with a substantial faction within the chapter supporting Johnny's level-headed approach, such as Klebitz's good friend Jim Fitzgerald, or the crippled Angus Martin, whose injuries were a direct result of Billy Gray's shoot first, ask questions second mentality during their seemingly perpetual gang war. Behind Gray would be many of the less experienced members, as well as club secretary Brian Jeremy, who is speculated to have done a murder rap in 1989 at the same time as Billy, being arrested the same year for the same crime. After a successful operation to save a group of the Lost being jumped by the AOD, Billy would learn of and inform the rest of the chapter, including Johnny, of the death of Jason Michaels, reportedly killed by...
Sir, Brian.
Fucking slap scumbag all the fucking
Shut the fuck up.
for which Billy vows they will seek revenge.
Brothers, we will find a way to get payback.
Soon after, Gray would lead Klebitz and the other Lost members to an AOD clubhouse in North Holland for retribution, claiming that the reports on Michaels being killed by an Eastern European were incorrect.
We got some bad information, brother. These are the guys.
Only for Klebitz to discover Gray's real reason for storming the club, to obtain a massive stash of heroin the Angels had been sitting on. Encouraged by the brown-nosing Brian, Billy would order the heroin to be taken despite protests from Johnny, who feared the potential crackdown from government agencies, not to mention the AOD. With little recourse to stop the move, Johnny would simply watch as Billy Gray lit the spark that would ultimately burn the entire chapter to the ground. Though Billy Gray and Brian Jeremy wanted to sit on the product for a time and either find a good buyer or use it all themselves, Klebitz argued that they sell it as fast as possible to get rid of the heat the drugs brought onto the chapter. After some brief arguing, Johnny would manage to convince Gray to sell the brown, and not long after arrange a deal with the infamous Bohan Queenpin, Elizabeth Torres, which Klebitz would attend alongside Trey, Playboy X Stewart, and Nico Bellic. Johnny would participate in the deal at an apartment on Cassidy Street in Schottler, but it would quickly turn to chaos as the buyers revealed themselves to be undercover LCPD agents. As Nico and Playboy fled to the roof, Klebitz escaped to the ground floor, fighting his way through dozens of noose officers, but just barely managing to escape with the product still in hand.
You ain't right, friend. Come on, let's get out of here.
LCPD! Freeze, motherfucker! I said freeze!
The botched deal hadn't been the first time recently that Klebitz had dealt with the authorities directly either, having only days prior become embroiled in a brief blackmail scandal when Johnny and Jim Fitzgerald are spotted stealing motorcycles off the Angels of Death and get cornered by off-duty detectives while offloading them.
Nobody's gonna be reporting these bikes stolen, so give us a break.
Wow, looks like these folks have outsmarted us, don't it?
Unbelievable.
These inbred biker rednecks get smarter every year.
Not once to be taken advantage of, Jim and Johnny would lure the corrupt officers into a lost trap, killing numerous detectives in a shootout in Actor Industrial Park. While tensions between the Lost and AOD accelerated, Johnny was also forced to deal with his former lover and hapless meth junkie Ashley Butler when she once again incurred debts to dangerous drug dealers, prompting Klebitz to rush in and rescue her at Butler's request.
Nice place you got here, sugar.
Not now, honey. I ain't feeling so good.
I thought you said you stopped smoking that stuff.
I did, Johnny boy. I did. I promise. I never lied to you.
Come on, baby. That's crap, and you know it.
I never lied to you when I was sober.
Well, my whole life's fallen to shit, sweetheart. I guess it was dumb of me to think this would be any different.
I'm sorry. I know I ain't much, but I'm all yours. You do know that, baby, don't you?
You say so.
I love you, Johnny. Thanks for saving me again.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We're better than this. We can live better than this.
Yeah, well, let's hope so.
Say the word, honey. Take that bike, we'll ride off into the sunset, you and me.
You, me, and that little habit of yours.
Having dated at some unknown time, Klebitz remained attached to Butler and would frequently drop whatever he was doing at the time in order to help her, regardless of circumstances, and despite her having slept with plenty of the other Lost members since their breakup, including Billy Gray. Eventually, Ashley even incurs debts to the Raskolov Mafia by a pair of Russian dealers, forcing a reluctant Johnny to perform a kidnapping in order to pay off the debt, unable to simply shoot his way out of the situation as he might otherwise do due to the powerful influence of Dmitry Raskolov.
What'd you do?
I'm an addict! I need help!
What the fuck did you do?
With help from a friend of Jim Fitzgerald, Malk of the Uptown Riders, Johnny would kidnap backroom gambler and cab company owner Roman Bellick and deliver him to a warehouse in Bohan Industrial, where he would later be rescued by his cousin Nico after slaughtering Raskolov's men.
This is Roman Bellick? Not such a tough guy, eh? What is all this fuss about his cousin?
Listen, buddy. Ashley's square with you now. So do me a favor. Go easy on the fat man. I've seen some of the bodies you people drop into Humboldt.
Easy, Johnny. You saw the shit stains in the back seat. He's scared enough.
What happens to this shithead is none of your concern. You, come with me.
Shit, Johnny. Yo, I gotta bounce. Be easy, man.
Not long after the initial botched heroin deal, Billy Gray would also task Johnny with assisting Congressman Thomas Stubbs III, whom Gray had secured work from, through lawyer by day, prospect by night, Dave Grossman, who had recently joined the chapter.
Tom Stubbs would love hanging out with you boys.
With Billy proclaiming the Lost were moving up in the world, Johnny would, with some reluctance, meet with Stubbs at an upscale club, Jousters, near Middle Park, where, after a brief encounter with a pompous faux aristocrat Butler, he would become intimately acquainted with much more of the politician than he'd bargained for.
Well, now that you mention it, I'm starting to feel a little queasy.
Under the threat of exposure and with otherwise complete transparency, the conniving congressman would request that Johnny murder his uncle on arrival at Francis International in order to secure his inheritance and, in turn, his next election, being on the verge of running out of campaign funds.
Whoa, that's heavy, man.
With little choice in the matter, Klebitz would do as Stubbs asked, going so far as to oblige his request of making the death look like a terrorist attack when Johnny blasted Arthur Stubbs' convoy upon touching down at the airport, and fleeing before the authorities could identify him and blame the attack on the Lost. Stubbs would later have Johnny break into a police station to liberate a prison bus packed with white-collar criminals and presumably friends or allies of the congressman, along with at least one lunatic cannibal.
Whoa!
You're the best tasting thing I've had since I got locked up.
That's intense.
Klebitz would deliver the criminals to a safe escape, along with the lunatic who may or may not have posed a significant threat to the day trading crooks. Regardless of their fates, Klebitz would be paid and conclude the Lost's obligation to Stubbs, while also having proved his own usefulness, going on to do several more jobs for the congressman on his own time for additional compensation. Eventually, Jim Fitzgerald would learn that the heroin Billy offloaded from the Angels of Death had in actuality belonged to the Liberty City Triads. Johnny would argue that the given gang war, tensions in the gang, and the possibility that they were being monitored by the authorities meant that the best course of action would be to sell the heroin back to the Triads, and surprisingly, Billy would agree, or so it seemed.
Okay.
Later, after setting up a meet, Billy, Johnny, Jim, and Brian would all ride to Dragonheart Plaza to deal with the Triads. Johnny and Jim would go inside to exchange the product, while Brian and Billy watched their backs from outside. However, upon meeting with the triads, they would be furious at the request to buy back their own property, and promptly steal the Brown while shooting, pulling their weapons on Jim and Johnny, who were forced to fight their way out of the building.
So let me get this straight. You are here to sell us back our heroin. The heroin my cousin sweated over in order to bring to this country only to have it stolen.
Look, man, we can do business or go to war. It's your call.
In this country, they seem to be the same thing, you stupid pieces of shit!
Fuck you!
After pushing through dozens of angry triads, the two men would witness Billy Gray still outside of the building crash his bike as the LCPD moved in on the building. Gray would be arrested once again, and while being grabbed by the officers, angrily denounced Klebitz as having set him up.
Put your hands in the air! Now! Fuck you, Johnny! You're dead! Shut your goddamn mouth! Shut your mouth! Dead! Shut up!
Now technically chapter president again, Johnny would phone Brian and meet up with him along with Jim to try and figure out exactly what happened. Brian would insist that Klebitz had set Billy up to be caught in order to become chapter president, but Jim would stick behind his friend, with Brian vowing to expose Klebitz as a traitor to the rest of the Lost.
You ratted him out! You ratted him out!
No, I didn't. He nearly got me fucking killed!
You set us up! You always wanted to be the one, the man! You're a gimp, Johnny, a gimp and a fucking Judas!
What the fuck are you talking about, you ass-kissing little weasel?
Hey, Brian! Johnny's not like that, man! Jim, you're wrong, man! I know you're a good guy, but this Jew prick, he fucked us over, man. He set us up and he called the cops. And you know why? Because they're putting heat on him. They saw him, and they've been calling him. I know, because they did the same to me. And they told me you ratted us out.
You keep talking like that, you are dead, my little friend.
Fuck you, man.
What?
You sent Billy to jail, huh? Show us your phone. Prove you ain't been speaking to the law.
I don't prove shit to you. And I didn't talk to no one. Fuck it. Come on!
You stay away from us, you hear?
Over the following days, Brian would splinter off and, along with several other members of the Alderney chapter, form a separate faction to Johnny's. It wouldn't be long, however, before Jeremy called for a truce between the two sides, despite having initiated the conflict to begin with. During the meeting, Brian would childishly mock Johnny, refusing to see sense, and escalate the, up to that point, civil war into an actual civil war.
Put these assholes in the ground, brothers!
While Brian's faction was ultimately larger than Johnny's, all of the veteran members had stuck with Klebitz, leaving Jeremy's faction almost exclusively made up of less experienced prospects. The first battle of the Lost conflict would end with the death of dozens of Brian's faction, with Jeremy himself just barely escaping. After escaping, Brian would attempt to broker a deal with Lost associates the Pecorino family through Ray Bacino, who had occasionally sold the bikers weapons, but ended up sealing his own fate when Bacino favored Johnny's faction and chose to reveal Jeremy's location to Klebitz in order to end the Civil War, as it was
in my interest to see that you boys calm things down.
With knowledge of Brian's location, Johnny, Jim, Terry, and Clay would all ambush Jeremy's safe house and put an end to the Lost conflict once and for all, leaving Johnny the uncontested leader.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be in prison or anything, but I take it. Fucking Johnny the Rat.
Around this time, Johnny would also find additional work with Bohan drug lord Elizabeta Torres, stealing a shipment of large cocaine at the toll bridges near Charge Island, as well as protecting Torres' drug mule Marta during her arrival at Francis International Airport, and later attempting to sell some of the product with help from Uptown riders Melk and Deshawn. Once again, unfortunately, the deal would be intercepted by the LCPD. Hot on Elizabeta's heels, and after escaping by the seat of his pants once more, Johnny would be told by Liz to stay away from her for a while, as she suspected she would be imminently arrested. A correct assumption.
Maybe we should get us a room together at the Jefferson Motel. I heard you and your brothers like that hardcore, hard rock bonding shit.
Quit these flirtations, B.
Alright.
You gotta take this shit back to Liz.
Right. Yo.
Catch you around, Johnny.
You wanna kiss your daddy?
Whoa there.
Peace out.
See you boys later.
While leading the Lost during his second bid as chapter president, Johnny would receive a call from Ashley, who was intimately involved with Ray Bacino, among many others, asking Klebitz to help Ray out with a job. Bacino's pitch would be simple. Gay Tony was purchasing some diamonds at the docks in Easthook from a man called The Chef, and Ray wanted them. With help from Jim and the broker chapter of the Lost, the bikers would ambush the deal, where Gay Tony and his bodyguard Luis Lopez are forced to flee, while Klebitz chased down and murdered Tony's boyfriend Evan Moss and retrieved the diamonds. Product in hand, Johnny would be told to stash the rocks in 2 separate garbage bags for a later date, when more of his associates would collect them. Despite thinking the plan was convoluted, Klebitz would oblige and safely stash the diamonds for a future sale. Unbeknownst to the shenanigans Bacino is forced to go through to reacquire the diamonds from a group of traitorous sanitation workers, Johnny would then meet up with Nico Bellic in order to attempt selling the diamonds to Jewish mobsters Maury Green and Isaac Roth at the Libertonian, only for yet another deal to be attacked, this time by the still yet unknown to all parties, Luis Lopez, where Klebitz fled the scene of violence, managing to steal Ray's money on the way out.
Come over here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Since we're having a little show and tell, let's see some money.
Of course. No problem. There it is. Beautiful, huh? Unmarked bills. No history, no need to launder.
Good. Nico, show him the stuff.
Get in there, Maury.
Isaac, look at them.
Gorgeous, huh? Like condensed money.
Isaac, these are great.
Oh! Rest of you motherfuckers wanna die? Do something stupid, okay? Fuck you!
Just get the shit, man! Come on!
With no money and no diamonds, a furious Ray would attempt to stop the fleeing Klebitz, but Johnny would successfully fight off Pacino's goons and deliver the briefcase full of cash to Jim Fitzgerald to be safely stored on lost territory.
Yeah, fuck 'em. I guess we're rich then.
Having perhaps underestimated the slimy Italian gangster, however, Johnny would not long after be lured back to Drusilla's by Ray, having kidnapped Jim Fitzgerald and texted Johnny using his phone. Ray would torture Jim with a blowtorch, attempting to find out where the money had been stashed, but after a brief struggle with Pacino and his goons, Jim and Johnny would gain the upper hand and flee the restaurant, both going their separate ways to escape.
Go ahead.
Drop the fucking gun, goon! No! I'll cut him! No. Back the fuck up! Back up!
Go ahead. Go ahead! Go ahead, run like a couple of girls! Billy was right about both of yous! Backstabbing fools. Good, I got guys in every corner! Where you gonna go? I'll see you later!
I gotta go talk to Ashley.
I'm gonna go get the fucking brothers.
Johnny would then meet up with Ashley Butler at the clubhouse, only to learn from her that she'd played a role in setting up Jim's capture, as she'd been in debt to Ray for her drug habit, and to make matters worse, Ray had told her that one of her hitmen murdered Jim as he fled Drusilla's. On top of the death of his best friend, Ashley would also reveal that she'd learned his other best friend was turning state's evidence and planned to rat out Johnny and Angus Young in a deal to receive early release. It seemed as though Klebitz had only one option left: to eliminate his mentor and former brother, to save his brotherhood.
See, it's Billy. Ray, it turns out that Billy was trying to poison him against you, and now apparently Billy's going states. He's gonna blame you. I'm sorry.
Well, what now?
You gotta get someone to help you. Maybe that congressman.
Maybe. We'll see. Go on and get out of here.
I love you, Johnny K.
You're speaking a foreign language to me now, lady. Now get the fuck out of here.
Facing an ultimatum, but lacking any real plan to reach and eliminate Billy, Johnny would be given his first stroke of luck in some time, when Congressman Stubbs called Klebitz to assure him he was
good for a favor,
and that through his connections, had learned of Johnny's situation, and intended to pay Klebitz back for the work he'd done. Stubbs would tell Johnny not to worry about Ray Pacino, who would likely be dead or inside within months, and instead focus on killing Billy Gray, who was prepared to pin a major drug distribution network directly at Johnny and Angus's feet. With an assurance from Stubbs that he would provide additional hardware for breaking into the prison, Johnny, Terry, Clay, and the rest of the remaining Alderney chapter members would storm Alderney State Correctional Facility in one of the most violent and explosive attacks by any biker gang in the history of Liberty City.
Terry, man, we gotta pay our friend Billy a visit. He's been talking. Bring Clay and bring all the fucking firepower you got. Meet me at the Alderney State Correctional. I'm waiting.
Johnny and company would shoot their way through the facility until Klebitz finally confronted a fully prepared for death Billy Gray. After some hesitation, Johnny Klebitz would put a bullet in the man he'd once called friend and brother, before escaping with the lost in a chaotic flurry, narrowly avoiding capture once again.
Do it! I'm doing it!
What? You waiting for a speech or something?
Come on!
With Gray dead, Johnny and the gang returned to their clubhouse, only to find it ransacked and trashed by Ray Pacino's goons. As though expecting it, the remaining Lost Brothers would briefly reminisce on their chapter's humble beginnings before ceremoniously setting the building ablaze, ending the Alderney chapter of the Lost Motorcycle Club. Following the chapter's fall, Johnny would systematically cut ties with many of his former associates, including Thomas Stubbs, whom Klebitz sarcastically wished good luck, and even made an attempt at cutting off the toxic Ashley Butler for her role in Jim's death and the end of the Alderney chapter, but ultimately, he would fall back into his old habit of rescuing her only after a short reprise from her. He would also begin sending money obtained from the botched diamond deal to the family of Jim Fitzgerald. At some point between 2008 and 2013, Johnny, along with Terry, Clay, and Ashley, moved to Blaine County, Los Santos, where they established a new West Coast chapter of the Lost MC and began expanding business interests once again. It was following his move to the West Coast that Klebitz's dependence on Ashley Butler led him to become a meth addict himself, losing a significant amount of weight and becoming thin and frail in comparison to his bulky 230-pound frame while vice president under Billy Gray. Unfortunately, one of the organizations that Johnny would attach the West Coast Lost to would be Trevor Phillips Industries, led by the eponymous and eccentric figure who would go on to start sleeping with Ashley, much to Johnny's frustration. Dependent on Phillips for drugs and Butler for attention, Johnny Klebitz's addictions would ultimately lead to his tragic death when he landed on the wrong side of Trevor Phillips in a particularly bad mood. Weakened by his drug-addled state, Johnny would be unable to fight back when Phillips violently attacked him, forcing a distraught Ashley to watch as her former lover is beaten to a pulp.
I know, cowboy. It's okay, man. Give me a hug, yeah.
Fucking shit! Cut! Who the fuck are you speaking to? Who? I'm talking to you, huh? You fuck! Johnny! Huh? Next time, don't get in my fucking face! I just saw a fucking ghost and I gotta hear your crap! Get up! Get up! Fuck you then!
The violent life of a criminal ends violently.
Wait!
When it comes to business, Johnny Klebitz is unusually level-headed for a biker, always preferring a profitable solution to a violent one, and caring little for pride when the lives of people he cares for are on the line, but showing little if any hesitation to carry out acts of violence himself when he feels they are justified. Unlike the chaotic Billy Gray, it was under Klebitz that the Lost MC saw the most success as an operation, making peace with longtime rivals the Angels of Death before Gray's release and subsequent orders to reignite the war. Orders Johnny loyally carried out despite his reservations. Having been a member of the Lost at least since his early 20s, Klebitz's loyalty to his brothers would mean that he always put them first, even when his life was in danger, only making changes to the group after climbing the ranks of the chapter and earning the rank of president. Though responsible for the deaths of hundreds, like many other subjects on this show, Johnny's motivations for murder are decidedly familial and business-related. That isn't to say that Klebitz was apprehensive about killing in general, as evidenced by his large body count, but rather to say Johnny only killed when he deemed it necessary, in his own twisted way, justified, usually by the way of the offender's actions against Johnny's band of brothers, of whom he was vehemently and violently defensive. Ambitious but occasionally weak-willed, Johnny Klebitz was a man of action for the majority of his life, but was consistently haunted by demons all too common to the modern American way of life: drugs, crime, and dangerous relationships with toxic individuals, all of which resulted in his tragic spiral from successful head of a powerful biker gang to strung-out meth addict, trapped by his unhealthy love for a sick woman.
I still love her.
Jonathan Klebitz was a light-skinned man of Middle Eastern descent with hazel eyes, dark blonde buzzer hair, and a horseshoe mustache, a look he maintained consistently from the time he joined the Lost to his untimely death at 39. Likely a result of the many fights Klebitz engaged in as a member of the motorcycle gang, Johnny's face was heavily scarred even by age 34, including 2 deep scars on his right eyebrow and another on his left cheek. His nose was badly bent, also likely from fights, along with at least one of his eyes being badly damaged enough to give Klebitz a handicap while playing pool or aiming a weapon. In 2008, Klebitz was heavyset, weighing 230 pounds and being relatively tall, as well as burly, fitting the stereotypical biker physique gained from years of brutal conflicts with fists and hand grenades. As previously mentioned, Johnny's typical outfit rarely changed, having adopted the biker aesthetic at a young age, making it a rare occurrence indeed to spot Klebitz without his signature Lost MC jacket and its many patches. As a member of a motorcycle gang, a body count isn't necessarily a given. As a member of the Alderney chapter of the Lost, however, it most certainly was, and Johnny Klebitz was by no means an exception. Due to the nature of Klebitz's organization, it isn't possible to get as comprehensive a look at Johnny's individual crimes as some of our previous subjects, with many of his crimes being unreported due to them taking place between rival criminal groups with no interest in reporting each other to the authorities. That being said, the crimes we do know Klebitz committed are still numerous, and demonstrate the deadly and intimidating presence Johnny commanded at the height of his influence in Alderney State. With that out of the way, let's take a look at the known numbers obtained on Jonathan Klebitz by our brave investigators through long and strenuous minutes, eye-finding the police databases. Killing several members of the Angels of Death alongside other members of the Lost MC in order to retrieve Billy Gray's bike. Killing several members of the Angels of Death alongside other members of the Lost for crashing Billy's welcoming party and to prevent them from warning the rest of their club that Billy had killed their lieutenant. Helping the Lost attack several hangout places of the Angels of Death and kill all the bikers found there. The bombing of the Angels of Death clubhouse, stealing motorbikes belonging to the Angels of Death alongside Jim Fitzgerald and killing several members in the process, killing Jimmy Matthews and Ed McCornish along with several other LCPD officers in retaliation for confiscating their stolen bikes, stealing numerous bikes for Angus Martin, taking part in numerous attacks against rival gangs alongside other members of the Lost, taking part in a drug deal alongside Nico Bellic and Playboy X, and escaping from the LCPD with a bag full of heroin, killing many officers in the process when the deal is revealed to be an LCPD bust, assassinating Arthur Stubbs and killing some of his security in the process, liberating several white-collar criminals from a prison bus, rescuing a CEO from the FIB and LCPD, killing a congressman, taking a photo of a congressman with a prostitute in order to blackmail him, killing a lawyer who had planned to pass some sensitive information about Thomas Stubbs to the press, stealing Bryce Dawkins' car and fitting it with a bug, killing several drug addicts in order to save Ashley, attending a botched drug deal with the Triads alongside Jim and killing said Triads when they become hostile and attack the two of them, bombing several AOD vans, killing numerous members of the Lost MC for betraying him and siding with Brian, assaulting Brian's hideout and killing him and his last remaining followers, stealing a slam van full of cocaine alongside Malcolm and Deshawn, saving Marta from the LCPD at the airport, attending a botched drug deal alongside Malcolm and Deshawn and escaping the pursuing LCPD officers, killing many of them in the process, kidnapping Roman Bellic alongside Malk for Dmitry Raskolov's men, killing Evan Moss and his guards in order to steal diamonds from them for Ray Bacino, attending a diamond deal with the Jewish mob alongside Nico Bellic, and fleeing with a bag full of money, killing several of Ray Bacino's men in the process when the deal gets ambushed by Luis Lopez and goes awry, killing several of Bacino's men who ambushed him in retaliation for betraying Bacino during the diamond deal, storming the Alderney State Prison alongside the remaining members of the Lost in order to find and kill Billy, who had turned state's evidence against the club. When all is said and done, after adding our estimated numbers from the intense gang wars against the Angels of Death, which lasted throughout much of 2008, Klebitz's body count approaches 1,000 corpses, bearing in mind that many of the murders he may not have been solely responsible for, but only partially, participating in numerous deadly conflicts across Liberty and Alderney states with his many brothers in crime. Besides his murders, many of the numbers on Johnny may seem low, but we must re-emphasize that it is the suspicion of this program that Klebitz participated in far more crime than was recorded during his time as a hardened criminal outlaw, and that even the astronomical murder numbers may be inaccurate. An accurate assessment of just how many murders took place during the massive 2008 gang war against the AOD isn't completely known, but due to the data being more recent and the rapid improvement and availability of video recording equipment, we can state with a higher degree of certainty than some previous subjects just how much this gang activity contributed to his tallies. Johnny Klebitz was one of the most deadly and dangerous bikers to roam the East Coast. However, like all of us, he was still human, and in the end succumbed to the criminal lifestyle he'd involved himself in for the majority of his life. America is a dangerous place, people. Motorheads, meth heads, and madmen around seemingly every innocuous corner. Who knows just how much longer the American way of life can remain until we're all hardened criminals with an eccentric knack for pulling teeth. Stay indoors, America. You never know if your lawyer will turn out to be a member of a criminal organization peddling meth on the sidelines. I'll see you next time on another exciting edition of Grand Theft Auto Biographies with me, your host, Guiness Walker.